What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Test Your Might, the internet's only video game debate show. However, this week we are holding the debates. Sad day, because it's been 3 weeks since we've had an episode, and yeah, just things going on in the What the Fun family. So, but I do have part of the family with me. He's a brother from another mother. He is Stubby Stan. He is the Mafia Lord himself, Cicero Holmes, a.k.a. The Holmes, a.k.a. Cicero. How's it going?
I'm doing great. That's what we're doing now. It's the summer, so it's, summertime. Summertime and the living is easy. So sometimes we have to go off and do things. We're all dads. Some of us are advanced dads.
Advanced dads.
Yeah, so we're in new
like,
dad
are you
plus.
talking? Hang on, are you talking new game?
New dad plus.
Okay. So you're talking advanced in like dadding or advanced in years?
Well, maybe a little column A, little column B, and then maybe column C as well. Whereas, you've had kids, and then those kids have maybe become dads of their own. So then you're an advanced dad. You're a new dad plus. Yeah.
I find it funny. I find it funny that our audience now thinks you spent the entire summer chain smoking. or at least the past 2 weeks.
I don't understand what you're talking about. Well, this is how I normally sound, and I was tired of having to show everyone this other crazy voice, for years. I figured we know each other now well enough that you can hear how I really speak.
All right. And if you could really not speak that way the rest of the episode, that would be grand. Anyway, please leave us a review. Yeah, please leave us a review on it.
You're trying to marginalize me.
All right, we just get back into the swing of things.
Right.
Oh man. Okay. Let me remind our audience that they can leave a review on any podcast app of choice. Apple is certainly the best place, as well as Spotify. You could do a star rating on mobile-only platform there. And we're going to have this full episode on YouTube anyway. So YouTube people, you haven't seen the beginning here in a long time. So please like the video. Go ahead and comment down below some of your thoughts on some of the news that we'll be discussing today. Yes, today is just a news episode. So if you're seeing us or hearing our voice, go ahead and comment down below on some of the stuff. And yeah, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. Certainly going to help us out in the future. So Cicero,
comment on the news.
Yeah, Cicero, we got a lot of news to cover, but obviously we haven't had an episode in 2 weeks' time here now. So what have you been playing?
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Hey guys, I've been playing Madden. Madden 24. I've almost been playing Madden 24 to the exclusion of everything else. But I've only been playing one mode, which is actually two modes, but it's one mode, and that's the Superstar mode. So, Superstar mode, of course, is similar in thought to the NBA 2K's My Player career mode, and it is replacing Face of the Franchise, which was their story-based career mode from previous games. Basically what happened was those stories got progressively less interesting, and there was less to do as the subsequent years moved on, and iterations kept coming out, and there was even less to do once the scripted elements of that series was over, right? So then it really got boring after about like week 6 in your first season in the face of the franchise. But yeah, so the superstar mode has returned. It is cool because you do get to go through the combine and you get to you get the IQ test that you've seen in years past, and kind of mimics what prospective NFL players go through before they are drafted. And you get some of those things. There are some cameos in there, and there are some scripted elements that happen. But it's more about you developing your player at whatever specific position you get to choose. There is actually really limited. You can be one of 5 positions: quarterback, halfback, wide receiver, a linebacker, or a cornerback. And they, I think the cutscenes are about the same. I'm most of the way through my first season, and it's fine. It's fun-ish. The gameplay on the field is okay. This particular mode, which I learned by watching some other reviews, is very, very sluggish. It's unbelievably unresponsive in the menus throughout the UI. It is noticeably bad. The thing that is heartening is knowing that it's only 2 of the modes where that is an issue, and not some of the other modes. So as I said before, I've only been playing 1 mode, which is actually 2. So in the superstar mode, you create your player, and you can take that player to another mode that they had gotten rid of, which was like Superstar Showdown or something like that. I don't know what the names of them are. They're all dumb. Forgive me if you came here for expert Madden opinions that properly name things, because you ain't getting that from me. Whatever the mode is, it was the kind of whatever the fake NFL street mode was in previous Maddens. That has returned. I think they called it the Yard. And then they had some other names for it. Now it's like, I think it's called like Superstar Showdown now, where you can take your superstar character, bring it into this 3-on-3 thing where you guys are doing all sorts of weird stuff, trying to score points against either AI or human opponents in 3-on-3. And depending on how you do, you will gain XP and attributes to level up your character that you can then again use in the superstar mode. And then different like cosmetics, different helmets and uniforms and what have you. So there's stuff there. It's not it's engaging, but it's not particularly like revolutionary. And the game itself is good. It's not great. There's good elements of it, but it needs to be better. It needs to be better, and maybe it will be better. By the time the football season itself has not started, and usually these games aren't really starting to hit their stride until 2 or 3 months into the release. Release train post-release, so we've got some time in order for it to get better.
Yeah, I guess that's the issue with those games, is that unfortunately it seems, at least to me, that they don't make any substantial strides year by year. So yeah, and then they have bugs and other stuff. So
there is a new skeletal system, so there like the motion on the field is better, and blocking is better. They have made AI improvements. But I don't, so I see some of those things, but I haven't really seen a lot of those things because the only mode that I'm really playing is this career mode. So I'm really only playing from the perspective of one position. And not the quarterback, right? Which is the one where you'd really be able to kind of see a lot of that stuff go down. The technical stuff on the field is probably better than it's ever been, but that's been true of the last few iterations. It's the other things, they take different attributes or different game modes away, and then they add certain things back, but they're never really as good as they were when they were there originally. We're still dealing with the same commentary from the last 5-6 years. In fact, I think so. The last 2 years, there have been 18 weeks in the NFL season, and for each of these past 2 seasons in Madden, when you come into week 17, the commentary says it's the last week of the season. So, it's pretty sad, right? Like, come on, guys. You can get better. You can get better when it comes to that stuff.
I mean, here's hoping that the new college football game is like really a standout, and they're taking their time and making sure that it's done right off the bat.
Right. So. Yeah, I'm optimistic. It always seems like the college football game is the best version of Madden from the previous year. So let's, if we're able to get a brand new game built from the ground up using what people knew about college football and bringing it to the the present day using this engine, I'd be happy with that. I'd be really happy with that game, I think.
Yeah. Well, for me, it hasn't been much, actually. I've been extremely busy the past 3 weeks or so. So the times that I have been able to game, it's mostly been Marvel Snap. I did get back into it.
Liar!
Huh?
You're a liar. You said you were giving up on it.
Yeah,
She came back. It called you back. It kept calling you.
To be honest, it was a friend who sent me a battle code and was like, "Hey, I want to play it." And I was like, "All right, I'll get back into it." And yeah, so there are times where I'm like, "Yeah, I got to put this down." But then there are also times where I realize that I've pretty much gotten rid of all social media on my phone, and so when I'm just sitting around vegging out, I got nothing else to do but play Marvel Snap. So I don't know, maybe I should download some Angry Birds or something. I don't even know. But yeah, Marvel Snap. It's still fun. It is at its core such a solid, fun card collecting game. And yeah, it's fun to try new and exciting decks. If I'm able to get the cards, that are required of said deck, but sometimes I'm not able to. I have noticed an unfortunate swing, which is I think even worse than I checked in last time with Marvel Snap, and their monetization has gotten. Yikes. I think it's gotten worse.
Hate to see it.
Which you don't have to buy it, obviously, but it's really something that like there was a bundle for a variant and a card back for Death, one of the cards Death, and it was $75. And
whoa!
If I remember correctly, I could be wrong, so correct me in the comments if I am, but if I remember correctly, like, it didn't even give you enough credits to upgrade it to infinite. Like,
wow. And
like, you're spending $75,
wow.
Just for card back, pretty much, just for a card, just for a variant and a card back. I don't. It's pretty egregious to me. So
wow.
Anyway, I've been playing Marvel Midnight Suns. I'm in a Marvel. Been Marvel Midnight Sunning as well when I get the chance. I'm still enjoying that game as well. Just upgrading my decks there too. Wow, I'm playing 2 Marvel card games. This is actually kind of funny. So yeah, one's better than the other. You figure it out. Anyway, so yeah, that's also fun. The story's fun. It's lighthearted, but it's also just get me to the combat scenarios. The combat scenarios are so fun in that game. I just got to the point where they will add random like world bosses now. Like so I was just doing this random mission, just like it was a side mission. It wasn't even part of the story missions. And just Venom, just Venom shows up and is just like, hey, you weren't on the memo here. You were not on the scouting report. Like, what are you doing? And so they were like, oh yeah, we're changing the rules. Sometimes on these side missions, an actual villain will show up, but you don't have to defeat it twice like you do in story missions. So. Okay. I was like, all right, whatever. So I took care of it, but took Ghost Rider falling, and I had to revive him. So,
well,
but yeah,
I mean, Ghost Rider. If Ghost Rider dies, we all know where he goes.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But the true secret sauce to my video gaming recently is I've been selling a bunch of stuff to save up for a PlayStation 5. And so
yeah.
Should get one hopefully soonish.
All right.
I just sold my PS4, so yeah, we're moving on up. So yeah, I kind of want to try Ghost of Tsushima right away. Like that's I mean if I'm able to grab that.
I wonder if it's part of PlayStation Plus, or whatever that service is. But I think we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that later.
So why don't we segue right into the news there, Cicero? So, hey, Baldur's Gate 3 is actually coming to Xbox this year. So there's been a whole controversy not really controversy, but there's been discourse, right, around Larian Studios not being able to release the game on Xbox. And the reason being is because there has been a clause that Microsoft instituted for the Xboxes that video games have to be able to be released both on the Series S and the Series X. And so they had a meeting over Gamescom. The CEO of Larian Studios, as well as Phil Spencer, had a meeting over the Gamescom time frame. And Baldur's Gate 3 is now coming to Xbox Series X in 2023. The Series S version might take a little longer, but it should come as well. To that. This is Michael McWhirton from Polygon. He says, Larian Studios will bring Baldur's Gate 3 to Xbox Series X and Series S later this year. The studio's creative director, Sven Vinke, confirmed Thursday. That's good news for players on Xbox who have been waiting for news on the Dungeons & Dragons game, as until recently it seemed like they would have to wait until 2024. Now, the whole discourse, Cicero, and maybe you could comment about this. Maybe you saw some of this on the tweeters or the X's of the world. Is that PlayStation 5 was getting an exclusive by accident, and it was sort of this like PlayStation 5 going up against Starfield and stuff like that. So that was sort of the I believe the what's the word, the console war type deal, but now Xbox is getting Baldur's Gate 3. What is your thought process on all of this?
Well, I think that this is probably the first time, and we're probably going to see more of this going forward. This was the first time that the Xbox Series S really became an anchor to what Microsoft was trying to do is trying to do on the console side. And I think,
specifically, just for context, Larian Studios said that they couldn't get local split screen co-op going on the Series S. So that's the reason why it was being held back.
Right. So that's a core component of the game for them in the way that they developed the game. But I think that this is going to be a thing that pops up going forward, because the Series S is, the games are going to become more complex. They're going to be more resource intensive, and eventually the hardware in the Series S just isn't going to be able to keep up. And and it's not going to be a matter of playing the games with the settings turned down. The settings won't be able to be turned down low enough. Now, I am confident that that 95% of the games that we play in this console generation will be playable in some way, shape, or form on the Series S. But there will be some games that we'll have to make some compromises. Forza Motorsport has already come out and said that they're not doing local split screen co-op
for the Series S. Or are they doing it also for the Series X?
They're not doing it at all.
At all. Yeah.
They're not doing it at all. And I think so the way that Phil explained it was in an interview with IGN, was that was their decision to make. That was their decision, that they have all the data. They know how often people decide to play local split screen co-op in their games. And the decision was made that they're not going to dedicate the programming resources to developing that, right? To working on that.
Which let me get you to elaborate your thoughts on that, because for me, like, no offense to anybody in the world who likes split screen co-op, that's certainly whatever, but like, how many times are you ever going to sit down and play 2-player on the couch for certain games? Like, I personally would much rather, like, let's just take Forza for example. I would much rather them spend development time and money towards making the game, just in general, versus doing something that, if the data supports that nobody's using it, then why waste your time? Right.
Well, yeah, and I think it has. So I think it has a lot to do with the fact that the data supports it, right? Like, I'm not saying that that's not what a very real reason not to do it, but I think also a very real reason not to do it is because they've got this half-off console, right? They've got this half-step console, the budget console just would struggle with that, and they don't want to, like, if the choices are no, features removed on the Series S that you'd have to upgrade to a Series X in order to get, or in order to have, or to remove that thing and leave the PR disaster behind you. I think they're always going to choose, let's leave the PR hit behind us. So, so the spin is, Forza's not going to do split screen co-op either, and the truth is they're not. But the Microsoft, the Xbox spin on that is, well, we're choosing not to do it at all, versus Baldur's Gate, which is saying, hey, that is something that we've added to the game, but we can't get it to run on this system simply because the hardware isn't robust enough for us to support that, for it to support that. And, now we've got to figure out what we can do to make this work. And I wonder if this is going to be like a Halo Infinite situation, with their co-op, right? Where they're like, oh, we're gonna just keep kicking the Series S version down the street until we can get that working, until a point where they finally say, all right, we can't get it working, and now the game is basically irrelevant, and you just can't do split screen co-op, but you can play it on your Series S.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think in the Baldur's Gate situation, it is something where I think I heard some or read some things that like they want to try to get split screen co-op to the Series S later on, and it might come after launch, but I don't know. Like, I still believe in the Series S as far as a decision that Xbox made to help a lot of people get an affordable option into some of the next gen games that are coming out. So sure. Yes, I do still agree with the decision to do the SKU, but what I don't agree with is this clause that they had. Like, you know, suffice it to say, like, PlayStation is getting a timed exclusive by accident when they didn't have to. Like, Xbox could have had that. And even if you're not doing the swing of like that, you know, that's fine. You don't have to talk about like exclusives or not. This is one of the biggest games of the year. A lot of people were super excited for this game, but like, to take on the cultural zeitgeist, as you say, Cicero, the way that it did, and Xbox is missing this game for the time being, that's something that you shouldn't be doing. And so I think you are going to see more often them be a little bit more lenient on some of these things. Like Cicero, let's play a hypothetical here.
Sure.
Let's say GTA 6 can't get something running on the Series S. You're seriously going to make them make it run on the Series S before releasing, and you're gonna let PC and PS5 have it for however long they need? No, you can't do that.
I think Xbox would move heaven and earth to make sure whatever the issue is, they'll figure out a way to make that work for a game like GTA 6. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 has been a phenomenon. It's been something that most people couldn't have predicted, right? Or the reception to the game is something that I think most people couldn't have predicted, and it has been a delight to see.
Yeah.
But in the scheme of things, I don't think that Xbox, like, sure, there's a little bit of a PR debacle that's happening right now. But I think when it's all said and done, they're not going to care, right? The Baldur's Gate came out 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah,
something like that.
I mean,
and
beginning of August,
right? But the next time we sit down to record, Starfield will be out for everyone.
Yeah. And you know, that's the other thing that I was thinking of.
Nobody
is that,
cares.
like,
they're not going to care.
At least Xbox is not going to.
Right.
Because, you know, obviously PlayStation fans will have Baldur's Gate to play on September 6th, whereas Xbox will have Starfield.
Right, but what's going to happen is, right, where the cultural zeitgeist is going to move is to Starfield, right? It's going to be to the thing that everyone has been waiting for, right? This is the first big exclusive from the big acquisition from the first big acquisition that Microsoft has made. And this is the thing that everybody has been waiting for. And it sounds like, at least from, you know, the rumblings that we've been hearing, is that it's living up to the hype and the promise that people were hoping that it would hit. And as a result, there will probably still be people talking about Baldur's Gate, but there'll be far fewer people talking about Baldur's Gate, and even those people that are playing Baldur's Gate on PlayStation are going to be listening to the conversations around Starfield and trying to figure out a way for them to play it if they don't have a PC that they can play it on or an Xbox.
Well, I mean, which brings into another question, and we do have to move on, but like, And I mean, ultimately, it sort of worked in Xbox's favor a little bit because I think they want the conversation more so on Starfield, a first party game, versus, Starfield releasing September 6th or whatever, September 1st for people who bought the early access bundle. And then like 5 days later, a 10 out of 10 masterpiece that people are giving the PC version comes to Xbox as well. I think it ultimately worked out for Xbox's favor. Xbox fans will get to experience Baldur's Gate 3 if they want to later on this year. So, all right. PlayStation Plus, Cicero, is raising their prices, and the math sort of brings it out to about like a 33% increase over all of the tiers in the PlayStation Plus lineup. So here's what's going to happen. PlayStation Plus Essential, the 12-month subscription is moving from $59.99 to $79.99, so a $20 increase. The PlayStation Plus Extra 12-month subscription is going to $134.99, and that's from a $99 position. And then the final tier, the premium tier, is going to $159.99 a year, so $160, and that is going up $40 from $119.99. Cicero, obviously economy is going to economy, business is going to business, that's for sure. So the raise in price is not necessarily what is glaring to me. It's more so it's more so that not all of, like, you, even you, Cicero, you have paid for this before, but you really don't know what you're paying for. And like it's not as easy, it's not as simple.
What do you mean? What are you talking about? Of course I know what I paid for.
No, you don't. It's not as simple as, hey, Game Pass. Yes, Game Pass doesn't have a yearly subscription, so it does come out to actually in a year, it does come out to more than the highest tier here, sure. But you know what you're getting with Game Pass. This model that they have is so confusing. You don't know what you're paying for. You're paying for online access, but you don't know what games fall under which category. Like, okay, if I want to play retro games, I'm going to have to go with the extra tier because it has extra. It's just very confusing. And to top it all off, they're raising their prices.
Yeah, this is dumb, man. I was being a little facetious. You're right, man. I really don't know what I'm paying for, right? Like, I went ahead and I paid for the highest tier because, that way I don't miss out on whatever it is that's available. But I think minus like the first week or two that I had the service, I haven't played any of the retro games. I don't know what I'm getting for this premium price. What I do like that PlayStation Plus does is that when the games, when you get the free games that are available in PlayStation Plus, they make it very easy for you to add that game to your library. They won't automatically add it to your library, but you can go in and just say, add it to my library. You don't have to start an install. You don't have to, start it and cancel it or do any of that other stuff. You can just add it to your library. It's in your library. You can download it whenever you want to download it. You can do all that stuff. I did try their version of cloud gaming. It worked fine, but it's very limited. Like, your cloud saves are really weird, and I think you can only get one. And I don't understand it. I don't use it, and now it's as expensive. It's slightly cheaper than Game Pass. Game Pass also raised its price. So if you're paying for Game Pass Ultimate, it went from Yeah, it went from $13.99 to $17.99.
$14.99 to $16.99.
Yeah, $14.99 to $16.99. Yeah, so so basically $15 to $17. So that means that it is $200 a year.
But ultimately, like, that's more worth to me because you are getting day one editions,
right,
from
yeah,
their first party,
right, exactly.
Now,
for $200, I'm playing Starfield when it's I'm playing Starfield as part of my subscription. And not only am I playing Starfield, I'm playing Starfield on my Xbox and I'm playing it on my PC, and I'm swapping between those two saves, like on the fly. So
and like PlayStation has added games day one. Obviously, they did Stray last year. That was one of the biggest ones. Right. They did Sea of Stars, which is a recent one that's gotten fantastic reviews, but Game Pass also had that, so day one. PlayStation has made these sort of third-party deals to bring certain games to their subscription day one and day out, but I think the bigger draw, the bigger draw, also the a lot more mass appeal marketing is when Game Pass can say you could play these first party games day one, and you just don't really you know what you're signing up for. You're signing up for old games and then recent games that might get added to the PlayStation, but it's also like what version do I need to get? It's really tough, and also just that price increase is a tough pill to swallow, I think, for a lot of people. I mean, people are still going to pay for it. Cicero, I'm assuming you're still going to pay for it just because it might just come out of your wallet.
Right. It might. It may come out of my wallet, but it is such a large. It is a large enough bill that it makes me question whether or not it's worth it. Yeah. And again, part of the problem for me is they've got these tiers, and the tiers don't mean anything. And I don't want to have to do research to figure it out, right? Like if they just said, "Hey, we raised our price. We were $120, and now we're $160, and that's what it is. Take it or leave it." Right, and let people make decisions, but then well, if you don't want to pay $120, you could still pay $130, and that's like the one that was $80. But then if you want to pay, man, come on, man, let's
make it simple,
right? Just make it simple, keep it simple, and we're not getting crap for it. Like it's.
All right.
Yeah.
Next up on the list, there is. Have you been following this dumb discourse about boundary reached? Some of the messaging has been said surrounding Starfield, and it's the embargo hasn't even lifted. Like as of this recording, we'll get reviews tomorrow, the 31st, the day before it comes out, but. There's been some like leaks and stuff about not being able to land on certain planets. Like somebody saw something where it was like you can't land on Saturn, and it's like, well, duh, it's all gas. Like you're there's gonna be certain planets, there's gonna be certain places that either you have to maybe wait a loading screen and nobody has shown you what's after that loading screen, or it's simply just a planet that you can't land on. Like if in Saturn's case, you can't land on Saturn. It's impossible because it's all made of gas. Like, or if there is a mass in there, which I don't think there is, it would be pitch dark. So like it wouldn't be fun. And they were trying to make this as like realistic as space they could be with building out the galaxy. So essentially here, Ryan Dinsdale from IGN says this: Bethesda's epic space RPG Starfield is right around the corner and springing leaks left and right, with one revealing a boundary reached message that caused concern with some fans. One video of alleged leaked gameplay showed a player running in one direction for around 10 minutes before a boundary reached message appeared on screen. Quote, "Open the map to explore another region or return to your ship," end quote. It said, giving the player the option to fast travel to their ship, open the planet map, or close the message. And there was some tweets, Pete Hines a while ago confirmed that, yep, if you wanted to land on a certain planet, you could walk on and explore. And then later on in this whole discourse, it says this, quote, "Guys, there is nothing stopping you from exploring the planet. It just may be a loading screen, or you may have to land at the next spot, a short loading or cutscene to continue exploring the same planet," end quote. And then finally, Windows Central's Jess Corden appeared to agree, quote, "It's not accurate info nor the full story. Can't say more than that, really. Wait for the review embargo to lift," end quote. And then, quote again, "The half-truths being spread are done in bad faith sometimes." So, Cicero, what do you think about this boundary reach discourse?
So dumb discourse is dumb.
Yeah,
and I don't pay attention to things that people that aren't playing the game have to say about a game that no one can talk about because it's under embargo.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the conversation that we're having right now. Sometimes people just need things to talk about because they haven't heard themselves speak in the last 30 seconds. And this is what they do. They sit and complain or think that they've found some gotcha moment and try to use that for Twitter clout or whatever it is dumb, and the discourse surrounding it is dumb. Nobody has played the game outside of the people that contractually obligated not to talk about the game, and so I don't know if you guys have been listening to this show for a while. If you're the day ones, you know that one of my favorite games of all time is Elite Dangerous. That's a game where you can fly around on ships and you can land on planets, but most of the planets you can't land on, right? Most of them you cannot land on. Mm-hmm. Despite that, there are more planets to land on than I'd have any wish or want or desire to land upon. And then when I get there, so one of the problems with Elite Dangerous is when you got on the planet, there wasn't very much to do. You could, drive around in your rover and do some stuff or whatever, but, it was dumb. It sounds like Starfield will have a little bit more to do. It will be a little bit more No Man's Sky than it is Elite Dangerous. But, where I only have 975 planets that I can land on instead of 2,000 planets I can land on.
Yeah.
If you've landed on 975 planets and you've explored them all and you're still looking for something to do in Starfield, you know what? You've got worse problems in your life.
It's really sad. Obviously, a lot of it is wrapped up in like some console war BS, which is very annoying in and of itself. But also, like, you just got to be patient for the people not only who have been playing it, but also who do this for a living, and they know how to critically examine a game. They know how to describe in the best way possible without you having hands-on experience the experience that they had. And let's just wait for the reviews to come out and let the reviews speak for themselves. And then, hey, you got a week away if you want to just subscribe to Game Pass and you could try it out for yourself. Right. How about you just think critically about the game yourself? Cool. It's a novel thought, Cicero. I don't know if you thought of that before.
No. Yeah. In fact, I'm not even listening to you right now.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you're part of the problem then.
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls 6 is in early development. Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What about it?
Yeah, it just they said here Ryan Dinsdale is on a roll here at IGN.
All right.
Bethesda has confirmed that its highly anticipated role-playing game, The Elder Scrolls 6, which was officially announced in 2018, 5 years ago, has entered early development. Cicero.
Mm-hmm.
Cicero, I'm gonna make this joke at your expense.
Okay.
Are you even gonna be alive when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out?
Hey man, I'm a black man. There's no telling. There is no telling. But if I do die before it comes, and it releases as my funeral is happening, I would not be upset if people wanted to play Elder Scrolls 6 at my funeral. It's okay. I have said it here.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
you heard it here first.
Right. So, I mean, look, Bethesda is trying their best to create their Red Dead Redemption and Starfield to their Grand Theft Auto in Elder Scrolls. And what we're seeing right now is there's one game that is days away from releasing. So Bethesda is saying, hey, this is what's up next, right? But don't expect it to come out next year. Don't expect it to come out in 2 years. We're right now, our energy for our AAA space, our flagship energy and attention is going to be in supporting Starfield and enriching that community and making sure that game has some life and it thrives and we're we're respectful and responsive to the community that embraces it. But then we will, as we kind of predict those things will start to wane from Starfield, we'll be ready to go with the next Elder Scrolls. So my question to you, Mike, is what's the year? What year is Elder Scrolls 6?
We're talking 2023. Pete Hines here said early development. Man, I don't think we see Elder Scrolls 6 until at the very least 2029.
Wow. My prediction is April 5th, 2026.
Wow, you think it's only 3 years away?
4/5/26.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're on something. A game in Starfield that has taken them since Fallout 4 came out, right? Because Bethesda proper hasn't done anything since.
Right.
That's 7 years, right? Well, 2015, right? That's
Yeah.
That's 8 years.
Right.
8 years away.
Right. And when was this game announced?
Elder Scrolls 6, 2018.
Right. And what's 8 years from 2018? You can do that math. You can do that math.
Yeah, I guess. I still think you're on something.
Well, because you're thinking that the first coders have they've just the first artist has made a tree for Elder Scrolls 6, or they've written a paragraph. Like, they've been working on this game since 2018, right? Like, they've been at least ruminating on the story and development and and that kind of stuff since 2018, and now they've got the power of Microsoft and the finances of Microsoft to back them and help them ramp up for full scale development.
Yeah.
So I think that this development phase is it's probably in the the middle or towards the middle end of the beginning phase of development.
I mean, I could maybe give you 2028 instead of 2029,
Okay.
but
Right.
I do not see this coming anytime soon.
Samson Simpson, I stick by my story.
All right. Final news topic of the week. There is a Super Mario Bros. Wonder Nintendo Direct announced, and that should be coming as of our recording tomorrow. Yes, 10 a.m. Eastern on the 31st. So you, so Cicero, I give you a challenge here. Give us a prediction, and then let's see if you were right.
Okay.
Because this episode will release after this comes out. So give us a prediction about Super Mario Bros. Wonder that we will find out.
So Super Mario Brothers Wonder, we will. There will be. Competitive. There will be a competitive Mario Maker type mode in the game where you'll be able to make design levels for your friends to play.
Okay. All right. I am going to boldly predict, and shout out to Justin for this, that there will be a giraffe and a dolphin in the game.
All right. There you go.
Based on one of our debates from a couple weeks ago, several weeks ago, a lot of weeks ago. It's been a while. Anyway, so hopefully we hear some new stuff. Again, Super Mario Wonder is supposed to come out October 20th. October is stacked, Cicero.
Yeah,
I don't...
Yeah.
Like,
this year has been stacked.
This year is insane.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It has easily have to be. I mean, we have to consider that nobody thought Baldur's Gate 3 was even going to be a 10 out of 10.
No one saw it coming.
People saw it coming. They knew it was coming, but they didn't see it coming, you know?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I mean, October, you have Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 got delayed just by a week or 10 days or so and I thought it was pretty wholesome. Like, Sam Lake, the Remedy Games, he was like, yeah, we want you guys to, like, play and enjoy Spider-Man and Super Mario Wonder, so we're just going to delay a little bit.
Right, yeah, let's move ourselves out of that, yeah.
I mean, like, I think that's pretty wholesome. It's also really smart because Alan Wake was going to get stomped by Mario and Spider-Man if it released during the same time. I mean, it's obviously still the same time frame, but at least a little bit later. Yeah, I mean, it has Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is actually an anticipated game. I'm not going to say like it's most anticipated for me, but it's anticipated because I really enjoy. I just purchased the Ezio collection, sort of like the remasters of the original Ezio trilogy, and so like just those smaller, sort of older style Assassin's Creed. And that's what this Assassin's Creed Mirage is. I mean, again, you have Mario Wonder. October is stacked, dude. Like this.
Yeah.
This year's nuts.
Yeah. It's insane.
Insane.
But hey, you know what? I'd rather have this than the alternative. So, and
the backlog's getting big.
Right, the backlog's getting bigger, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing to have. Good problem to have. In addition, like we really didn't talk about Gamescom, but some big news out of Gamescom is that Cyberpunk 2077 is basically now The Witcher 3, right? Like it's the game. It is the game that we all believed that it was going to be. when we heard that the game was going to be announced, based on our relationship with The Witcher 3 and the level of amnesia that we have for the problems that The Witcher 3 had when it initially released.
Cicero, I was to jump in here. I was listening to IGN's Gamescoop last week, and they were at Gamescom. They were talking about the Phantom Liberty stuff and like the update 2.0 and all that or whatever. And like how they posed a very interesting question. How different of a discourse would there have been around Cyberpunk if they just treated it like early access?
I think that they would have gotten away with a lot of, right? Like they would have been given a lot more latitude. However, you can't early access like the Xbox One and the PS4 version and all of those things, right? Like it was all of that stuff, right? Like there's no real early access versions of those games. Those games are what they are. They did update them and make them better. But if it was just early access and like Phantom Liberty is the game that we were promised, right? Like if this was the 1.0, if 2.0 was 1.0, there would be no Xbox One or PS4 version.
I mean, maybe that's obviously hindsight 2020, but like I just thought that was a very good question to ask.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Because like if Cyberpunk, I mean there are games. There are a lot of games that get sent out into early access that do charge the $60 or whatever for you to buy into it.
Right.
Like the sort of discourse around Cyberpunk would have been so much different if they just said, "Hey, this is a early access build. We believe that in this early access build, like you can have a good time." Like, and people did with the PC version, right?
Sure.
But yeah, I thought that was just an interesting thought experiment on what it would have been like if they brought it out that way.
It is definitely interesting to play around with. I wonder, I really do wonder what the conversation would have been about, would have been like. But the game launched broken and they weren't honest about it, right? They knew that it was going to be pretty broken and they weren't honest about it. And I think that's where.
Exactly.
That's where the discourse, that's where, people kind of turned on them, is the fact that they weren't forthright about, or to be frank, they were dishonest about the state of the game and on all the different versions. But more specifically on right.
How different would that have been if they just flat out came out and said, "Hey, the game's broken. We're going to be doing as much updates as we can. It's in early access." Like,
and I think if I think that even if it wasn't like, "Hey, it's early access," but like, "Hey, this game, we're releasing it now because we said that we were going to release it. It ain't great, but we're working on it. We're working on it diligently, and we're going to try and get it right." I think that there would have been enough people out there to say, "Hey, you know what? Maybe they shouldn't have released it. Maybe they should have held on to it if it was going to release in this state." But we do have the precedent of The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 launched pretty broken, maybe not as broken as Cyberpunk has, but we've watched that game evolve and mature into this game that we all love and laud, right? So let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's give them some leeway and allow them to work on this game, and we'll be able to see the evolution and maturation of this game in the same way that we saw The Witcher 3. And I think that could have, if they had gotten ahead of it, that could have been the discourse and that could have been the conversation around that game. It still would have been, they still would have taken a hit, but it wouldn't have been the hit that the game took, because it was Voldemort for a long time.
People disowned CD Projekt Red. They were like, "I'm never playing Witcher 3 again," stuff like that. It's just it's just one of those things that, like, just a change of perspective, how different
Well,
things could have been.
Again, it's here is the thing that is beautiful about this period of gaming. As we move forward, we've gotten to see it with The Witcher 3, as we talked about before. We talked about No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is another game that has really evolved from what it was to what it is today, it goes to show you that when a development house is passionate about a product that they've released to the world and they continue to work on it, we really can see better versions of that. Like we live in a time now where they can update the games and make the games so much better and more remarkable than they were when they initially released. So that's great. I'm really happy to see Cyberpunk get that treatment. And if there was a lull in this year, maybe that would be
there's
something
no lull.
Right. If there was a lull, that would be something that would occupy that time. But there isn't.
Actually, right now is the lull. But you decided to spend your time with Madden.
Right. So I would be spending my time. If I wasn't spending my time with Madden, I'd be spending my time with Baldur's Gate 3. So there really isn't a lull. Right, like, there is still new content to be had, and next week for the next month, presumably, the only thing that, I'm going to be a noun, a verb in Starfield, right? So like,
are you?
Probably.
Cicero, I'm just like I'm being the friend that you deserve, but don't know you need. All right.
Okay.
Like. You got to put the Madden down, man. Like you got these games that are, I mean, you got Spider-Man 2 coming up. Like
Spider-Man's in October.
Spider-Man was your game of the generation. Yeah, but Starfield's taking up September, right?
Right.
So I mean, but like, you just got to put the Madden down. Hey, I'll make a pact. I'll put the Marvel Snap down.
Right.
And you could put the Madden down. We could get some Starfield going.
Well, but that's exactly what's going to happen. Is I'm going to be spending my time in Starfield. It is I've said repeatedly that I only have space for one open world
space.
One open world game per year. And I had already said that Starfield was going to be that game. I was almost willing to break my rule for some of the other games that came out this year, but Starfield is going to be the game that I really dedicate time to. So I'm looking forward to it.
So
it's got all the things. Well, no.
That's open world.
Right. Well, Spider-Man 2. So Starfield is the open world game. Spider-Man 2 is going to be quasi open world. It's not going to really be open world. It's going to be a game that I'm going to spend my time in and with and enjoy, but maybe 20 hours, maybe 25 hours. And Spider-Man.
I'm just glad I'm going to be able to play it because I'm very close to a PS5.
There you go.
I can taste it. Anyway, Cicero, we're not going to do the gaming draft this time around.
No, all right.
You had this fun idea of just talking about a topic. And just introduce our topic here that we're going to end our show on.
So, Mike, you came to me and you said, hey, let's not do a draft. Let's do something fun. And I said, you know what's fun? Let's talk about something in gaming that we felt was ahead of its time. And that now is the time to bring that thing back. I just, there are so many things that I think about that I'm like, ooh, wow, the power pad. Wow, that was something that they we could use now. The power glove, look at that, with AR stuff, we could be using that, but there are things, but like, what's the one thing you're like, man, wow, that was revolutionary at the time. We weren't ready for this, but now I think we could. There are applications for this, or this game, or accessory, or piece of hardware. What's yours, Mike?
I actually thought of two, Cicero, and they're both gameplay mechanics.
Okay.
That I think were ahead of its time. The first I'll start with because it may just be a short conversation, because unfortunately now it is patented by WB Games, and that's the Nemesis system. I thought
dope.
I thought the Nemesis system was so far ahead of its time. Like,
Sure.
could you imagine like these sort of consoles like having the Nemesis system and like, or even the PCs that we have now with the graphics card and the processors that we have that could handle such an in-depth sort of system that the Nemesis system was. And like, I mean, I've said it before, like imagine like an Arkham City or an Arkham game spin-off where the Nemesis system is the rogues gallery of Batman, you know, that sort of thing. And just like, do you agree? Like, I think the Nemesis system was a little bit ahead of its time.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I mean I mean it came out of nowhere, but it was. I'm not gonna say that it was underappreciated. It was definitely underused.
Yeah, underused,
because
yes.
Right, because it was, you know, because I mean it was in two Lord of the Rings game, and then there was another game that had like a version of the Nemesis system in it.
And like literally after that, they didn't call it the Nemesis system, but right after that, they patented it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I mean, you know,
yeah.
I mean, great that they did that. Terrible that they haven't used it for anything. Right. So, you know, so you've walled it off and kept it from other people, or you're saying, hey, you've got to pay us in order to use it, and people are like, you know, whatever, I just won't use it. But yeah. I would love to see more games use it. And I think that you know, nowadays, especially, you start integrating AI into the mix, and you know, you can have these dynamic interactions. That would be awesome. So what's your second one?
My other one was going back to GTA 5, actually.
Okay.
The sort of you can't really call them protagonists. the sort of like the multi-character, the ability to the story that is sort of layered, and then you like switch to the characters by all that, you know, that's what happens in GTA 5 if you haven't played it. I'm assuming you lived under a rock for the past 10 years. But like, no games have really utilized that particular system either. Just like having, and I think maybe Spider-Man 2 is going to be the potential for that type of system where it just like seamlessly switches from one character to the other. Like GTA 5, for a 10-year-old game, has one of the most like compelling and good stories because of all of that, because of the ability to use all three of those characters within the main campaign, and it's switching seamlessly in the past 10 years that it's been out. Like, really, GTA 5 is one of my favorite games of all time, and that campaign was super fun. And no video games really have utilized the multi, I'm gonna say protagonist, but you know, GTA, right? Multi-protagonist, like, and the ability to switch through them. I'm hoping to see that sort of thing with Spider-Man 2.
I wonder if we'll probably get something similar to that in Spider-Man 2, but I think that it's going to be more scripted, right?
Yeah.
So in GTA 5, not only were you playing in these missions, and there were moments in these missions where you would switch between the three protagonists, And and to be fair, like I just as a piece of clarification, they are the protagonists, right? Like, yes, it is GTA, and even in gangster movies, right? The guy who's the criminal is the protagonist, right? The guy that you're following. That's
You get what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying quote unquote. Come on.
So
don't yell at me.
They're not good guys, but they are wise guys. So But I'm
talking here.
Yeah, so they, in the missions, they did a fantastic job of seamlessly integrating the three characters, and each of those characters had special abilities that you would utilize during those missions in different moments. But the way in which that really stood out was outside of those missions, when you were just kind of doing whatever in this open world, in the sandbox, where you could jump in on the fly to any of those characters, and you would wind up basically possessing them in the middle of them living their lives, seemingly. Obviously the best one to do that with was Trevor, because he would always you'd always wind up randomly around somewhere in Los Santos with him in his underwear or something like that. It was always hilarious. But part of the reason that stuff was happening in that game in that way, and you haven't seen it in other games, is that game came out in 2012, 2013 or something like that. That game probably still has a budget that's larger than 90% of the games that were released this year.
Yeah. But I mean, you think of that particular system and just like the type of consoles that we have now and the type of PCs that can very much curate that and be just as good, right?
I don't know that I will say that. I will say that the consoles are powerful, right? They're far more powerful, right? Far more powerful than the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 that GTA 5 was designed to launch on.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say that just because these systems are far more powerful, that whatever wizardry Rockstar was able to do in order to make all that stuff work is possible for people with something less than unlimited budget.
I hear you on that, but
right.
I think that it is again, it's just something that doesn't seem to, it hasn't really been utilized.
No,
and I feel like it could. Like, I mean, I think there's so many stories to tell that aren't just, there's so many stories to tell with multiple protagonists that you should have the ability to control free willy, all of them, just like GTA, and that just hasn't happened.
Well, the game that got close to that was Watch Dogs. What was the last one? Legion. Yeah. And yeah, so you had a version of that where you could go in and select.
But with that there was no story behind it. There was just, you had these people in your legion, and they didn't matter. It was from what I read, and what I watched, it was just essentially you're changing the skin of your character. It's kind of like they
had side missions, right? There were like 6 or 7 side missions that these people could do, but they were but that was it, right? Like once you've seen all 7, you could recruit 100 people, and they're still gonna have one of those 7 as the side mission that they have in there. So I mean, like, but I mean, that only goes to further my point that the game that came closest to mimicking that wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm assuming that it had to do with budget. I'm sure that writers are creative enough to be able to come up with multi-protagonist narratives that if the developers say, hey, we have the ability to switch between these characters on the fly, go ahead and write us a story that will allow us to do that, that the writers would be able to do that. It's that the developers aren't able to do that, and whether that's because of money, whether it's because of know-how, whether it's because of, we know it's not because of hardware limitations. I've got to assume that the reason that they're not able to do it or they're not doing it has to do more with how much money it would cost to make those things happen and work and be seamless, as opposed to any of the other stuff.
You might be right. I'll give you that. But
I could be, but I could be wrong.
What is yours?
So you know what, I'm gonna be cheesy. I'm gonna be Xbox centric, and with the first one, I'm going to say that the time has come for Xbox On. Bring back the Kinect. Hashtag bring back the Kinect. The Kinect was ahead of its time, both 1.0 and 2.0. But imagine what we could do with a facial and hand tracking camera for consoles now, right? We talk about AR stuff. We talk about, they were doing AR things and that kind of stuff well before it was cool, well before anybody really understood what it was, even really before there was a phrase for it, right? There wasn't really an augmented reality, but now we really understand that. We understand VR, we understand augmented reality. We want to talk about hand tracking, that kind of stuff. A Kinect 3.0 with current cameras, and using somebody's headset, right? Like, it doesn't have to be a Microsoft branded headset, because there isn't really one, not talking HoloLens, and using Kinect would be fantastic. You wouldn't need controllers. Like, you could play a game by knowing Kung Fu, right? Like, that's something that could be cool. It also could really aid in next level communication, right? Like, you can have your Zoom calls or what's Microsoft's Teams, right? Like, you can do the virtual calls that everyone had been talking about, where the camera can see you and create a digital version of you, a digital avatar of you doing whatever it is that you're doing while you're sitting on your couch from the camera, while you're watching somebody else do a similar version of that. I think that would be super cool, and the time is here for that, or at least it's really close to being here. So that's my way out on the limb one. That's
super out on the limb.
Right, yeah. And what do you think of that? Do you think would you want to see a Kinect 3.0?
No.
Okay.
At least not connected to Xbox. I think that you are right that the technology is something that is potentially not only ahead of its time, but apt for a comeback right now. But I think if Microsoft just utilizes it and just says, this is Microsoft stuff, I don't think you need to tie it to something where gamers are tired of gimmicks. I really do think they are tired of gimmicks, and I think that that's why people don't want the Switch predecessor, the is predecessor. No, they don't want the Switch sequel. They don't want Switch 2 to change things up. They want to keep the same formula, whereas Nintendo doesn't like doing that, Yeah. So it's that sort of thing. Like, I think that, like, if if we bring back Kinect, it can't be tied to Xbox.
Okay. All right. What Henry Ford said was before he made the Model T, if I asked people what they wanted, they'd say a faster horse. Well, so Mike, you're not necessarily on board with my Kinect 3.0 thing that I'm saying they could bring that back, but I know that you'll be on board with this thing. Its time has come. It was ahead of its time. It is prime for a comeback. One of the things that's great about Xbox Live is the sense of community, and I think that at least initially, now I've been an Xbox Live member for a long time. Right?
Yeah.
For as long as there's been Xbox Live. One thing that I'll say is that I feel like the sense of community in Xbox Live is dwindling some, at least from my perspective. But that is my perspective. But there was a, in my opinion, a golden age of the Xbox 360 community, and Microsoft and Xbox did a great job of capitalizing on that particular golden age with the game show 1 versus 100.
I was just about to say it.
This game has been gone for a long time. It was a game show that was on TV for this period of time in the early aughts and late 90s. Prime time had game shows galore. And it comes back every now and then. This show 1 versus 100 was a breakout hit, and they managed to bring that game show to the Xbox, where they would have a game space at a certain time.
Yep.
Where and the way this game worked, if you're not familiar with this game, it was one person versus 100 people. And we would ask trivia questions of the 101 people, and if the one person got that question correct, then they would stay on. Any people that amongst the 100, aka the mob, that got it wrong would be gone, and you'd keep going until you got to the end. And sometimes they would be like celebrities within the mob, but the Xbox version gave people, they won things, right? They won Microsoft points when that was still a thing, because I don't think you can give money because it's like gambling or something. Who knows what it is? But like, there are things that you could do in 1 versus 100 in the current version of the Microsoft ecosystem that would make it worthwhile. You can give away free months of Game Pass Ultimate. You can give away vouchers for controllers in Design Lab. You can give away, hardware like hard drives. There are all sorts of things that you could do. You could give away Series S's, right? You need to get rid of these anyway, right? Like this is something that they could do, but it was appointment gaming, right? There was appointment television. This was appointment gaming. Oh, at 7:30, this was going to be a game that was going to be played. Mm-hmm. There's a possibility not only that you could be in the audience, but you could be one of the 100. You could be one of the mob. Maybe you even get selected to be the one, right? Yeah. And then there was a live host, and they would go through the stuff, and you do all these things, and everybody was playing, and it was fantastic. It was it was great. So great. I think friend of the show, Ryan McCaffrey, has talked to Phil Spencer about bringing 1 versus 100 back. So I know that there are plenty of people that are that would be excited for that. And even if they don't bring back 1 versus 100, which although I think that's a great game to get to bring back, because it involves so many people in that space. There's so many game shows that you could bring to the Xbox and make popular, right? Like and do those kinds of things and really bring in a community where you have people in the audience that are able to communicate with each other and watch this thing together and comment on it and have this shared experience that really makes this pastime that we love feel a lot more intimate. And it's something from a bygone era.
I agree with you that not only did it sort of cultivate a online community, but I remember playing that with my friends just around the room, and we were all just trying to answer the questions.
Right.
Just putting our brains together and just being a group of friends that would play that all night. I loved that game. Super fun. Yeah, I agree with you. It was ahead of its time. As far as especially in a time right now where we think about just like the lack of community in a lot of people's lives, I would say that COVID did that, and just like and all that, and this would be something that could easily bring it back. I think. For sure.
Those are my two.
Awesome.
What do you guys think?
What gaming thing was ahead of its time? Let us know down below in the comments. Hey, that's been our episode today. We just had a news episode. We didn't make it brief because Cicero can't stop talking. No, I'm just kidding. It's both of us. Both of us.
No, it's me. I will take the blame.
All right.
And you're welcome.
It would have been a couple minutes of a shorter episode if Cicero wasn't a smoker at the beginning. Anyway, right, please leave us a review. Once again, Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well on the mobile. And then please subscribe, like the video, do all the things. This is Mike, that's Cicero from What the Fun. Test Your Might, episode 130, actually. 130. We've got 130 on them out. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Peace.